that's going into its second year. It's called Robert Taylor's Detectives with Robert Taylor. And the other one is going to be a new series with Richard Denning called Michael Shane. And you can have your choice of being the young guy in either one of those shows. And I didn't have to think too long when Robert Taylor was an established star. Richard Denning was great and he's fine. But I said, gee, Mr. Powell, I think I'd like to work with Robert Taylor. He's such a professional. I think I'll learn a lot from him, won't I? He said, you'll learn a lot. So I said, then I want to do Robert Taylor's Detectives. And working with him, God bless him, he knew his lines and everybody else's lines. And he used to sit in one of those little chairs, on his set, smoking. We all smoked in those days. It killed him, it killed Dick Powell, it killed John Wayne, and I stopped smoking.
By the way, as an aside, Michael Shane lasted 1 year, and it was fraught with problems. The whole original cast, Jerry Paris, I forgot who played the secretary, Patricia Donahue and Gary Clark were all gone. They put new people in with different roles. Herbert Rudley, who played the detective, lasted the longest, and they couldn't cancel a show fast enough after its season was done. So
I can say what you're saying.
Oh, I can say that. I can say you made the right decision.
Oh, well, yeah. Robert Taylor.
Robert Taylor instead of Richard Denning.
Wasn't Adam West in the show too?
Adam West came in the third year of the Detectives. And he doesn't talk about it very much. I do shows with Adam, and I know Adam pretty well, He can't put one over on me. He can fool all you people, he can't fool me. I know his.
Well, Sugarfoot, tell us about it. Don't tell us about it.
What?
Tell us about the show.
Life in general.
Life in general, that's fine. How'd you get it?
Oh, well,
Fun with Jack Warner.
I was a natural for it because Sugarfoot was a guy who was working his way up to be a tenderfoot. And that was me. And I did some bucolic roles. I was going to, such a long story. Wow. I was at UCLA in the film department. And I liked editing the best. I wanted to be an editor. So I stayed up all night. I used to wad up paper and put it in the window so they couldn't close it all the way. And I could sneak in there and work on my film, putting the pieces together. And I auditioned for a role years later for Francis Ford Coppola. And I told him I did that because he went to UCLA too. He said he did the same thing, but he met with a little more success. But anyhow, so I stayed up one night, all night long, working on my masterpiece. And my buddy, BJ, came in the door and said, come on, we're going over to NBC. There's an all-points bulletin for college kids on the new show, Matinee Theater. That was an amazing show. Albert McCleary, every day an hour show live, cross country. Nothing like it since, I guess. Later, I got on it. I played what's her name? Audrey Totter's son. She played my mother. I didn't think of her as my mother. She just completely awed me, and I forgot my lines coast to coast. And not many people get to do that.
You played opposite Karen Sharp, and you played somebody else's son. It wasn't Melvin Douglas, was it?
No, I didn't get to work with him.
No, somebody else's son in a matinee theater, and you played opposite Karen Sharp, I believe.
Yeah, I worked with her. I wasn't so sharp. Anyhow, my buddy takes me over to the NBC auditioning on Vine Street. And I used to do a lot of speech tournaments in college and high school. And it's sort of like ice skaters. I figured, I noticed that if you're toward the end, they tend to remember you better. So I went under the piano and fell asleep. I've been awake all night. And I was the last guy in there, and I got the lead. And it was an all-college production. I played the killer, real juicy role. And I'm doing a single.
Go ahead.
Warner saw me, and I guess I could tell the story. Dick Clayton, who was a pretty famous agent, and called my mom, and he asked her how old she was, and boy, she thought, man, she lopped off 2 years.
No, how old you were.
Yeah, when I
You
said
said how old your mother was.
How old was my mother? I'd like to know how old his mother was too.
Did I send her a birthday card? Okay. Broma seltzer. Anyhow, she asked, I guess I didn't want to say it, did I? He asked her how old I was, and she lopped off 2 years just like that. Shame on her. She should have lopped off 4. But now I tell my age, I'm the snowman. anyhow, Warner saw me and called me in there, and they signed me up, and they still let me do conflict. I did conflict shows, but they also let me do the Albert McCleary show. And let's see, what is it? I don't know what I was going to say there. Actually, they had me in mind for the lead in No Time for Sergeants, believe it or not, because I work cheap. And David Butler came in and looked at me. He directed Will Rogers' last movie in Old Kentucky, which is a wonderful movie. Did you ever see that?
Yes.
To show the great talent of Will Rogers, he actually tap danced with Bill Bojangles Robinson and kept right up with him. It was just what a talent that guy was. So David Butler thought I reminded them a little bit of Will Rogers, so they gave me the name Will, and then the lead in No Time for Sergeants was Will Stockdale. But I didn't. Cooler heads prevailed, and Mervyn Roy put the right guy, Andy Griffith, in there. But so they gave me a test, though. Instead of a screen test, a cheaper one, I did a scene from No Time for Sergeants. I played Will Stockdale, and James Garner, of all people, played the psychiatrist. So we did that scene for everybody. And for some reason, the scene didn't really get many laughs, and I was trying my darndest to make funny. And now I see the movie, and the psychiatrist is played by a real goofy guy like Franklin Pangborn. He's the guy that should get the laughs, not me. Well, so that's the way it went. So I got to be in it, and I got to play the pilot of the plane. And a guy named Jamil Farrow played the co-pilot. You know him as Jamie Farr. And we were real goofy. They cut out my favorite scene and didn't use it. They have a real bomber on the soundstage, giant soundstage, and everything looks as if it's way in the distance, but they use little people and things like that. And so we all come to get on the plane, and we're all hungover from the last night's escapades, and we're all going like that. And Andy Griffith looks at the camera and says, "That's my crew." So I was the pilot of the plane that got lost. I almost landed. I said, I told you we'd find the landing field, and we'd go down. And Jamie says, "No, that's a drive-in movie." We pull up, see all these Indians going across the street. I said, "What a funny movie. It made more money than any other movie for Warner's that year." And the guy that photographed it was at one time married to Jean Harlow. And so
George Barnes.
Right? No. I worked with Jake Peverell Marley too.
Jake Peverell Marley.
And he was married to Linda Darnell. So I got to work with all these great camera people. Anyhow, I played these bucolic roles on this series called Conflict, which alternated with Cheyenne. It was an anthology series. And so I just eased into the saddle on Sugarfoot and had to learn to ride a horse and all that. And so anytime I made a mistake, it was okay because that was Sugarfoot. But I didn't get much respect. I'd come on the set in the morning and the script girl would say, Fugger should. and along with that, they didn't give us residuals. But other than that.
You talked about reminding us of this names. I don't have my wife out there to ask her, so.
I got mine.
I know, but she I want to follow.
She can help you.
Babs, this is for you, Babs. No, what happened? Live, I did a show when I first got to Hollywood that was live, just like yours, live in California. No, shot in California, live to New York, and then shown in California 3 hours later. But it was live, and it was a Chevy Mystery Hour with Everett Sloan.
Wow.
And I was an actor, my name was Peter Montopoulos. And Yvonne Craig was my love interest. We were in high school. And Edward Sloan was the teacher, the professor. And in the scene, first scene, I was nervous anyway, right? In the first scene, Yvonne Craig writes a note to me. And in rehearsal, she folded it twice so it would fit right in this pocket. So she'd give me this note, I take it, I go like this.